Good morning. Welcome to Flat Earth Early Bird number 1617. I'm your host Arwin. And before I start the show, please don't forget to share it on any platform you deem fit. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so you know when I'm going live, which is normally 1 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekdays and 2 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekend. And please also do support me through the PayPal and the Patreon. That would be much appreciated, and I can always use the support, so please keep it coming. Right. Weather today is glorious. Super blue sky, just a couple of tiny little clouds here and there. No trails. Yesterday there were a lot of trails, today not. Yesterday I also saw something really weird. Like there was this military cargo-like plane flying over really low. Super loud too. I don't know why that happened. Like yesterday evening. Anyway, plants are still doing great. Basil is getting a bit old though, I feel. I don't know why. Thought that would keep growing, but oh well. Birds are using the water extensively. I mean, I put a new bowl there and like within a minute one of the birds gonna take a bath in it. And make it really dirty. I don't even know how they get that dirty, these birds. Anyway, hello Fiber Oats, first in chat, good to see you. Can you see Earth curve from way up there? No. I can't really see the horizon anywhere. There's trees or buildings everywhere. Birds are great to have around, yeah. No, it's great. I mean, it's very enjoyable. I was up pretty early today, too. Did go to bed decently early yesterday. But it was up really early, and that was great because it's like the best weather ever. So I've been enjoying that and already went out for groceries, even though I have to go one more time. But it's a joy to go out on my bike in this weather. I'm just going like this. Hello, Tarot 306, good to see you. Did I check? No, sorry. No, why would I check that if you just uploaded that a minute ago, Tarot? I'm doing my show. Where's the curve show? Yeah, live stream of the flat Earth. The Earth spinning. The building's upside down. Oh, right. Okay. re-upload. Okay. You're supposed to blab about all the time. Birds. It's mostly a declaration of stance. Like, it's a declaration of their feelings, their stance, which is important within the social hierarchical understanding. So they're mostly like bickering about territory or like just expressing their feelings. And there's like there's like a ladder of communication, like how you do that. From like really tranquil and at ease to like super excited or aggressive. I don't know, I pay attention to these things. So that's what they're mostly blabbering about. They're not like creating cognitive communication structures like that. It's all expressive. Busy little bodies. Well, that's what they do, right? They have all this room in their heads because they don't cognitively think like that. Although some of the birds might, like crows. But it's mostly like introspective and like, I think, trying to plan on what you could do. They have cognitive processes like that, I think. Feels like that too. But the actual communication is mostly expressive to like, express your stance. Crows are planning a takeover. No, not really. They can get a little dark sometimes though. Like crows can get in a bad mood and then get really dark and they like to torture. I've seen that. It's really fucked up. But it's very rare though. And I think that crows might have like sort of moral quarrels even like that. I don't know. Not sure. Hey, Slow-Mo Moonbuggy. Hey, I watched that video you linked me up yesterday from Shiva. Watched all of it. And yeah, man, he was just using Flat Earth he was just trying to drag us all into this initiative. He wasn't getting into the actual content of Flat Earth at all. It was very socially strategic like that. So the whole thing was sort of like an advertisement, but not to sell something, but to like inspire an idea of a movement. And it is interesting though, but it's weird that like, I mean, QAnon is like very dubious. And he explained why, and then it's kind of awkward that he put us all in the same camp. That part is like, that was like, I don't know why you do that. When he seems very open to Flat Earth, he's like not triggered about Flat Earth at all. Or if he is, no, he isn't. He has it like really perfectly under control, but he's not like making an open stance on it, probably for strategic reasons. I mean, he is actually planning to run for president. But yeah, it's just very Shiva. And I mean, the guy is freaking brilliant. I'm actually kind of curious as to his, what is it called? His systems thing. to get more, because it's very kind of like what I do, except I do those things just intuitively. But I'm interested into like, yeah, how his system works. I didn't even know he had a YouTube channel, by the way, so I am actually gonna try to follow that, see what he comes up with, and hang around in the chat. Hey Richard G, good to see you. Jado. What's the crake? What? Wouldn't touch Effie if he becomes friend. Well, Tarot, look. Nobody is going to touch Effie when they're president. But I think that Dr. Shiva will actually at least give recognition to the situation going on, and I think he might go towards just getting away some of the strong biases against Flat Earth, at least. Under the guise of free speech, and I don't know. So I wouldn't all just put him aside like that. I mean, it is very promising. Then again, there's also a chance that he will succeed somehow. And then he is very smart and a great planner, so he might probably be able to avoid then getting assassinated or something. Or corrupting. Because, I mean, if he'd actually implement all these things, that would be disastrous. Like nothing you've ever imagined before. Because he is so smart, and he will actually change it in a durable way. Because he is that smart. So that's the question. How does he see it? I mean, if he's actually gonna get there, does he realize the things that typically could happen? Well, he should, but what is he gonna do with that? So he should really have a strong group of people to basically protect him so that he can be able to do that. But we'll see where it goes. I think it's really interesting, actually. Yeah, sure, Slow-Mo Moonbuggy. Well, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't matter what the fuck you are, do, or where you came from, unless you're with the system. Like, unless you're not with the system, and then anything, they'll indict you for having stubbed your toe one time. I mean, serious. Doesn't matter. If you're against the system, they'll throw everything at you. If you're not against the system, everything's okay. It's that hyperbolically hypocritical. And why is he running for president? Because he thinks he can. He thinks that he can actually do that to change the world and America in a good way. And yeah, well, what can you say? I believe in him. I believe that he could do that. If he could survive actually winning. Disqualify him. Yeah. Well, one of the bigger problems, Tarot, is that just voting systems in the US are so blatantly corrupted. Just look at the last election. I mean, in your face. Right? So, yeah, how would he then ensure that he could actually win through being voted on? You see? I don't know, man. It's like over my head. Like, I'm not smart enough to figure that out. Like, or, well, maybe I am, but no, probably not. But I'm not experienced enough like he is, because he just does everything. It's like nothing holding him back with things. It's just extremely impressive. Right. But yeah, Tarot, you're saying like, oh, if he got elected and then he gets disqualified. That's the point. Is he prepared for all that? It's like you gotta have teams of lawyers standing ready, because that shit will happen. You're right. So it's a complicated thing to accomplish, but I mean, he is smart enough and capable enough to actually get it done. If he believes he is, and if he believes he is, then I think he probably is. Or at least he stands a good chance, and worth taking the gamble. Yeah, Jado, exactly. He actually is brilliant. And he applies, man. It's in a way it's a bit risky, but I mean he's really good at it. Like, I am just a theorist, man. I just think of things and I'm pretty good at it, and I focus more on explaining the thinking, understanding thinking itself. Shiva is just like all about how do you integrate, how do you apply yourself, and what the system, how are you going to function, how are you going to use your oversight and your intuition. Very detailed, all of it, but all focused on the application. So in that sense, he's like in a way counter opposite in how his brilliance works. I mean, when you're like that, you will overlook things too, because he is so hyper focused on getting it really done. And when you're hyper focused, that means there will be a lot of things that just slip you by because you're hyper focused. Huh? And it's even like an open tactic for him. It's like, yeah, you have to ignore a lot. So it's even in his strategy. Well, my strategy in how I apply my intelligence is exactly the opposite. I always look in between things. Right. But on the other hand, there's not a lot that I get done other than communication wise. I'm not exactly the master of self application. I mean, I am in certain ways, but in others, I am highly lacking and underdeveloped. And could still be well developed. It's just, it's never getting there. I think also there's like a layer of trauma in the way that like needs to be faced. Like, as soon as I get into things again and start relationships and getting more face to face in my social relationships in general, there's trauma I have to like face from the past. to like allow myself to be more vulnerable. Well, or rather exposed, but less vulnerable, because I'm always vulnerable to a degree, and I have to always like deal with that. But my point is that for me it's always been that socializing is very exhausting, because I get too close to people. I experience their experiences, what they share with me. So maybe I have to like work on a tactic to not do that all the time. And I have been training on that, by the way, to like just hang around, notice somebody have a conversation, and then not automatically zone in on it, to immediately start deriving information like spiritual metadata about like what they're feeling, where they're at, and whether they are conscious of whether they are being heard or not. Like if there's an underlying strategy string through it all, right? I do that. I can't help it. But it's really distracting and sometimes draining. And I like, yeah, well, when you go face-to-face situations, I continually, it's like, normal communication, somebody has like a weird reaction, and there's like an immediate conspiracy theory just unfolding spontaneously, because I notice there's a person that has an issue and there's like an awkwardness to it in a way, but I like understand everything about that. And then like most mundane things can then hyper distract me like that. Hello Oz, good to see you. Dr. Shiva looks like one of your neighbors. Yeah, well that's because they all look alike, don't they? Nah. Just kidding. But he does look like very typically Indian, if I dare say so. And I do. Does look like typically very smart Indian. It's very typical that they end up kind of looking like that. I find it very fascinating in that sense, that sometimes you can really tell how smart people are just by how they look. And sometimes it's off. But most of the time, certain types they have a level of intelligence. And it's never like above it. Sometimes it's like unexpectedly broken or something, and then they're not smart. But that's a thing. I'm just starting to notice it more and more, and it's like it becomes reliable. So if somebody kind of looks like somebody you know, there's a good chance you could like treat them on the same levels, or you could size them up on the same levels as the person you know, and there's a good chance that it'll work perfectly. Yeah. It's weird. Well, anyway. Yeah, so the video Slow-Mo Moonbuggy linked me up with yesterday. Did watch it all. It was a bit tedious. Also, he's like super neutral about Flat Earth, not really getting into any arguments about it, and even kind of like it felt a bit weird putting us in the same basket as QAnon, which has a very openly dubious background. But other than that, yeah, it was still interesting. Interesting to see what he's up to. Anyway. Was also catching up on Owen Benjamin still from, what was that, Monday? It seems like he's doing streams every other day now. Or maybe that's just because of Veterans Day or whatever. Right, anyway, Flat Earth debates yesterday. Shiva the Destroyer of Trouble. Okay, that's hilarious. Slow mo moon buggy. There might already be t-shirts like that out there. I mean, don't underestimate how well connected Shiva is. There's a lot of creative people surrounding him. Right. By the way, my back situation much better. It's like almost entirely back to normal. Oh yeah, hold on. I gotta drink. Yeah, man, it was such great weather. I thought I feel like getting a gusto again. Cheers. Because that's great with this type of weather. Feels, and I feel better, like my, yeah, perfect time. Right after healing. All the ginseng in there. That's great. Right, so anyway, Flat Earth debates was great. It lasted forever. It was crazy. Nathan just kept it running and then eventually rounded out the official show, but then still restarted it up and was a members only, and then later still kept it running as he joined QE Live. And they popped up through there for a bit, but I didn't hang around because it was too long, all of it. But it was a pretty good show. Good conversations. Some religious stuff came up again. Yeah, Danny Faulkner, apparently. That was also yesterday's show, or the day before. I forgot on yesterday's show what it was, but it was Danny Faulkner. And again, but I missed most of it because, yeah, I was out for groceries during the main live show. Right. Man, I completely ran through the Angry Video Game Nerd library. I've seen all of it. He does other videos too, which are kind of okay. But man, that was a big ride. And he's like literally still active now. So, but yeah, what a ride. Danny Faulkner still hanging around? Yeah. Apparently he went to some church and then did, I don't know exactly what it was, but it's bound to be terrible. I didn't, and I ended up not watching any of it because every time Danny Faulkner was on the menu, I went out for groceries. Yeah, but he's been doing church lectures, indeed. Really gross. What's his current stance as delusional? No, worse. Danny Faulkner is one of these people that over time gets worse and worse. He's very delusional. Oh, okay. Derek. Oh man, the weather's so freaking beautiful. I don't think I checked the temperature. (23°C). Yeah, that's more like it. Oh, it's gonna be great weather in the weekend too. Man, summer's really here. I'm so looking forward to it. Concerted effort in religious groups to round up flat earth talk. You mean to cut it off? Yeah, I know. I've even noticed it in the church, like over there, in the Mormon church, when I went there. Because I was definitely sharing about flat earth. And there were some people that were actually interested. Really nice people. But the main pastor or whatever that title is, like he literally made stupid lectures about globe shit. Very annoying. And I spoke out against it openly. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm in church, so you're supposed to do that. So I did that. Because out here in the rest of the world, like I'm not gonna do such a thing. Like, oh, I see something wrong, I immediately speak out because everything would be a mess. Everybody's feelings would be hurt. But in the church, it's like, no, you should actually do that. I mean, isn't that a thing? Like you're in church, you're expected to uphold even better than normal. Right? So if you see something wrong, if you hear something wrong, you speak up. Right. Anyway. It's cold. Okay, Oz, but where were you? In England? Or in like Australia or something? Cornwall. Okay, England. Right. Oh, southwest England. Right. Well, over here it's great. It's beautiful. Blue. Let's see if I can get it. More blue. Show it. There's still wind though. But I mean, even the wind with this type of temperature, the wind is actually kind of nice. Although things will probably dry out quicker, so I have to keep check on my plants. Woohoo! Right, so yeah, Jado, I mean, it seems like yeah. I wonder how exactly it's organized. I mean, how do those churches, those organizations all come to basically adopt science, heliocentrism as the cosmology like that, officially? Well, I'd almost say like it's the Jesuits, but like how the hell? It's like a bit of an overgeneralization to just say, oh, just the Jesuits, but could it be? Or what else is doing that? Or is it all just because of money? Money interest? Like you have to adapt this belief. It's like you can be the religion, you just can't actually uphold the religion, and then you'll get money. Is that what it is? I'm not sure. Or if there's some central group, which I would immediately assume is Jesuit or something, that goes around and contacts like all these church leaders to then kind of like conspire with them, like you have to do this and there could be money in it, right? Or like you just really have to do it or we will like excommunicate you or blackmail you or something. I don't know how far that goes. Oswald Spengler? I don't know who that is. Right, but however you... look at it, it seems like just Christian churches of all sorts are corrupting worse and worse. German polymath? What? Ooh, white pigeons. Right, I'm reading the wiki. Right, lived up to 36. Oh, he did not live very long. 56. Huh. Jesus. Okay. Well, that's something. Yeah, that seems interesting. So he apparently compared civilization to being an organism. Funnily enough, I do that myself. I've done that in many things that I've talked about on this show. Because it, like, to see the body as a civilization as well. It's like they're very alike. So he apparently was onto that. And he said that after the year 2000, there would be 200 years of extra constitutional omnipotent executive branch of governments. 200 freaking years! That's not good. And that would be completely collapsed after that. So, I don't know. We still have time to prove him wrong. But I'd say that's pretty freaky on target. Man. Yeah, antediluvian catharsis. Huh. Yeah, but looks like an interesting individual. Hmm. There's a lot of history there. Sorry, guys, I'm literally scrolling through. It's kind of fascinating. Huh. Hmm. Uh-oh. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so he did eventually get grafted in with Hitler and all that. Right. So yeah, I mean, seemed like a very interesting individual, but he did actually eventually get involved with like ideology and shit, and like apparently his thoughts about it have apparently helped shape like the way the Nazis did their thing. Right. Steiner and Spengler's. Okay. Sure. Antediluvian catharsis. Never heard of that. Hmm. Steiner deconstructs. Okay, that does not surprise me. Hmm. Right. Yeah, I guess I'll have to check that out some other time. But I mean, that doesn't surprise me one bit because Rudolf Steiner was not having any of that ideology shit. Mm. Man, this stuff really hit the spot. Ah. Cynical merchant class of. Wow. Okay, well, there is definitely something to that antediluvian catharsis. Right, but yeah, I mean, it's logical that because of the success of a civilization, the oligarchy gets so much wealth just passively from the success that the wealth corrupts them directly or indirectly. It attracts corruption just by existing. That will eventually lead to them being possessed, turning inside out, tyrannical and anti-human, and then corrupting society. And that's exactly what's happening out there. So yeah, he predicted right. Right, because the overall problem is that if you have technologies to make things easier and to enrich and make things more efficient, yeah, it'll benefit everybody. But where is that benefit then actually going? It's going to give people extra time. What are they going to do with the extra time? They're going to be bored. They're going to do stuff. There's always something making profit of that. So the more society develops, has more spare time, more spare money, the more people that want to be rich, that want more, will get more and then corrupt more. This is also, when you consider that effect that is pretty universal. I mean, Spangler was pretty on target if that is his conclusion, that it worked like that. But what do you do? Well, it means you have to be very careful for allowing technology to be integrated and basically legalized with the public. You have to effectively slow it down. Because the quicker it goes, the more the newer generations will be alienated from the older generations. That's one thing. But also the corruption from a quick transition, from quick transformation and more higher efficiency will bring quick corruption as well. So every time technology is basically unleashed upon the public, even to their own benefit, there's just a lot of dangers that come with that are unavoidable. Unless you really be careful with it. You do it slow and you're like, what you do? You would have to like pre-educate but do it correctly. I mean, pre-education has been happening, you could argue, even through media, through science fiction media for starters. But it's all towards bullshit. It was all just a lie and a dream to advertise products that had nothing to actually do with the dream, but that would remind you of the dream. That's always what they've used it for. When you could use pre-programming to actually help prepare generations for what society is going to become. In a benevolent way. Yeah, do you understand? Does anybody here understand that you can actually use social engineering and pre-programming in benevolent ways? Like, that is actually possible. It's just that we're so used to it being abused by a bunch of crazy people all the time that you don't even stand still to think about that. I mean, there is something to say, to argue for that. Well, Russia, how it functions now, that they are at least attempting, and I'd say with certain levels of success, a benevolent form of social engineering. Like they're trying at least, right? So it is possible. It's not like everybody now through the internet's like, oh, social engineering, oh, Nazis, oh, the eugenicists, oh, the New World Order, oh, it's all evil. Well, yeah, when it's all evil people doing it with eugenics in mind and depopulation and all that shit, yeah. It's gonna screw things up. People are gonna go insane. They're gonna want to kill themselves and others in their delusions, because that's what comes from that. But it can also be used well. A benevolent king can actually use the psychological lore to bless. It can be done as well. Dysgenics, right. Yeah. I say eugenics because that's the catch-all word, right? That's what all the sub-mainstream media talk is about. But it is really more dysgenics, because eugenics in the core, man, a long time ago, in the earlier stages of the early bird show, I even said that at one point. It's like, yeah, eugenics has just got this bad rap because this negative obsession with like, oh, the resources are running out and you have to kill everybody to get it all for you. When the original idea was just really like, no, how do you survive? Like, do you have what it takes? Can you do something that's really ugly to you so that the humankind and the lore also combination and the good spirit can live on? Like, how do you achieve survival? And that means that, oh shit, we don't have enough food for everybody. That means that somebody's not gonna make it. What are you gonna do with that? It's just like, how do you make sure it all rounds out in a way that everybody can live with, even if some die? And these are like super heavy moral things. It's heavy shit, not pleasant. It's really meant for leadership, for people that really can take on those brutal decisions and live with it and make it work. Right? Tough stuff. That's the real eugenics. But it's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be for survival, so that cultures and civilization don't scatter and blow up. But it's been utilized by Marxism and corrupted into like the tool of how do we destroy everything now. So it's like a reversed inside out eugenics. It's like, no, how do we understand people in order to destroy them? So dysgenics is a better way to describe it. But in general, everybody just sees it as eugenics. The original idea of it, the philosophy of the 19th century, it's all gone. It's like, there's maybe still some out there, but it's like, it was a decent idea and there's important lessons, but this giant bloating evil bushel with thorns grew on it, and it's like gigantic, and like, yeah, that thing is still like in between the roots there, but everybody just sees the giant terrible thorn bush that's grown on it. That's pretty much the situation. So it's kind of a bit late to start saying, no, it's not eugenics, it's dysgenics. But I understand the motivation behind doing that, because the original eugenics was worth existing and learning about. especially if you're interested in being a leader. Anyway. Okay, antediluvian catharsis. Crippling genetic conditions. Yeah, but does that mean that I am that too? You see, this is the issue. It's like, right, so antediluvian catharsis, by that standard, do you think that, I mean, I feel like I'm a broken person in ways, but I have skills in other ways. But does that mean that I shouldn't procreate? Because I can't really financially take care of myself, and I have lack in social engagement capability. Or is the intellectual side that I do have available worth it all? Right? So that's the question then. Where do you draw the line? You see, that's the problem when you're gonna say, oh, we have to shave off the useless in order to achieve something. But do you really have to? Or do you only have to do that in cases of dire emergency, when you're sure nobody's gonna make it? Right? That's why it's meant for leadership, especially in war scenarios. But actual war, and not psychological warfare on the population to try to get them all killed. There's legitimate, non-politicized medicine and whatnot. Yeah, but I don't know if that... right. I mean, that's not just going to correct me or something. I have issues. My mother had issues. It's in the family. Right, the problem with people that think in eugenics is they end up like, oh, we have to just... They go full Spartan, right? That's the problem. People that like eugenics, they tend to go full Spartan and be like, oh, we have to only get the good specimens. Yeah, but that means that you're gonna like dehumanize and potentially kill off not perfect specimen. And that's like, is that reasonable? What type of unique intelligence are you going to basically cut out of the game? Because there's people that typically have issues in their family, but they also then on top of it have a certain type of brilliance that's really unique. And it always seems to come with those types. If you're gonna be eugenics then, and like, go full Spartan and try to shave off the weak, you're gonna risk killing off all those types at some point. And then you lose a level of consciousness within society because of that. This is the problem that literally, allegedly, I don't even know how much or reliable that is, but that's sort of what like Nazi Germany went through because of their Spartan approach eventually. right? If you're just gonna only, take away all the cripples and not just like the mentally handicapped, right? Because you're not gonna get any genius from those people, although they might be good for morale. Surprisingly, it's complicated. Problem is, as soon as you start to go Spartan, is you end up risking losing a certain frequencies within your society that do come with ugly or partially incapableness, but still very much contrast with those weaknesses to contribute. That's the problem. In that sense, eugenics Spartan method in these times, when you're not continually being in risk of getting assaulted by a lion or something, right, like in the actual Spartan days, is counterproductive, because the world's become more intellectual, more complicated, and more deceitful. So you need the variety of minds now together to altogether be capable to crack the code of it and not lose your minds to the powers. And in a way, that is actually the argument for multiculturalism. To not go full homogeneous. Because of the different frequencies that can come out of it. And the problem is, if you just embrace the standard model multicultural society, which is leftist, then they end up all losing those unique traits and becoming programmed by some standardized, really fucked up, dumb way of thinking. So that form of multiculturalism actually negates the proper benefit of the variety within multiculturalism. So it's very ironic, right? That multiculturalism, the way it's being done right now, actually destroys the benefit of multiculturalism. Because there can be a benefit, so long as there's clear, distinct rules. Right? And not forced like it is, and like with crazy, even legal discrimination like that. Like, oh, you're of a certain skin color. Oh, then you can get away with much more. Oh, you're of another certain skin color. Oh, well, now you're going to get the full book thrown at you, even with almost nothing, because you said a mean thing to somebody. I mean, that is super destructive to multiculturalism. It creates a spiritual, moral rift between the two races that are treated asymmetrically. And eventually, when the sparks fly off that, because of the asymmetry, it's like almost inevitable that there will be like racial clashes between there as a side effect. So, yeah. And people feel that. People that have sensibility, they know that about it. Like, because why? Well, every time somebody gets away with super criminal behavior because of their skin color, you get really pissed off about that. And when somebody else gets treated super harshly when they barely did anything because of their skin color, you get really pissed off about that. So it always pisses you off either way. Right? So, yeah. Again, I am being kind of left field here, but multiculturalism could actually work. But not if you're going to do it like this and force it and be asymmetrical. It doesn't work that way. You get rifts. rifts eventually will spark racial division and clashes. People are going to genuinely be fed up with it, and they're going to act out. Can you explain the ideal I don't think there is such a thing as ideal multiculturalism, but there is things that can work. But it's really based on the bridge between the understanding of both cultures. So you could have a very culture-specific community, let's say like Chinese people or Moroccans or like Sudanese or something, Egyptian or certain categories or groups that find themselves feeling like they do identify together, right? And you have like a group of refugees or migrants that just, it's been green lighted, they come into a region, well then they will kind of form their own community, and that's all cool as long as there is an understanding that they're there, that they have their own ways, but that they're supposed to adapt. You're not, if you wanted multicultural, well then you shouldn't be forced to throw everything off of your ways, as long as it's adapted to the laws of the land, like the laws of that region. So if you have certain practices that are outlawed by that region, then you shouldn't be allowed to do that. It's very simple. That would be the condition for you to be there in a multicultural setting, right? And then there needs to be communication from the cultural side to the other. There needs to be like a representation. And if you have that, then eventually it'll be like, oh, this is just our brothers from that place, which are typically that culture. And then you can talk about it and like, hey, what do you guys think about that? Oh, this and that. Oh, that's interesting. We think about this. And you can keep comparing, and then it becomes like friends. It becomes like FED in a way, right? I mean, I'm Dutch. A lot of the guys are British and American. And we're all very different. We have our own ways of doing things. We have our own backgrounds and our own skill range and what we like to do and what we really don't like. And there is friction sometimes, but eventually, like, open communication, don't hold anything back, really. And then eventually it just works. And that's the same way good multiculturalism can work. You always have to have a universal adaptation to the law of the region, right? As soon as there's a culture that typically, traditionally, or religiously has like a mandate that they must take over, that's a problem. If they act on like a religious mandate or whatever, like we have to actually take over, we have to infiltrate and take over, we have to change everybody to the way that we're doing it, those groups, like if they are tenacious about that, then they should not be allowed in a multicultural society. Right? You do your thing and let other people do their thing. Right? Unless it really breaks the law. And also, very much distinctly so in a true multiculturalist society, like typical Satanist practices should be absolutely outlawed. In a real multicultural society, Satanism should not be legal. What they do, right? Pedophilia, murder, which has like been re-engineered into abortion, that kind of thing. That you can't make it work if you allow that, because then multiculturalism will be so polarized within, it will just create friction and war, civil war things, just terrible morality overall. So it has to be in one direction. Like, evil should not be allowed, and then you can make it work. Without evil, what's good? Well, without evil, good is good. Good is not about standing out, about being good. It's just good. It's effective. Yeah? Evil should not be allowed. Very simple. If you allow evil, it will rule everything. Because that's what evil does. It's really very simple. Good is high spirits. Literally, lots of energy in the spirit. Evil takes away energy from the spirit. So if you allow evil, then good will diminish. It's a very basic formula. Right, in that sense, there's this weird triangle situation between good, evil, and force. Right? Evil, like, can destroy good. Good can't really destroy evil. But with force, force can stop evil. You can see it like that, right? Evil can stop good. Good can stop force. Force can stop evil. Gets a bit complicated, doesn't it? Can you feel? Can you feel it? Huh? Good can stop force. Force can stop evil. Evil can stop good. Yeah. It's not so simple anymore now, is it? Anybody else seeing it? I'm gonna put it in a title. Or maybe it's different. Not sure. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe evil can stop force. Yeah. That's a weird realization. I think people agree to this more. Right, but there's something to argue for the other way around as well. It's a complicated alchemy. You could argue it's a being oversimplified, but I mean, yeah, it does make you think. It's not just one or the other. Right? Force in ways is a weaker part of good. Like passivity, peace. Force is not the typical thing for good to do. And it's like, if you raise up in arms too blatantly, well then evil gains the upper hand. Evil can stop force. And it's really like being the opposite of evil. Good that actually stops it. That weakens them, that makes them lose their power. And they're usually the ones that eventually resort to force out of desperation. What do you guys think? Anybody still here besides a Kumu virus? Jesus. Man created duality of good and evil? No. Yeah, to you. Well, you're just wrong. Duality of good and evil is not something we created. It's the natural result of doing it. It's a pattern that's there. It's designed by God. That's why there are rules. It just works like that. And if you sit on one side of the rules and say, no, I disagree with that, or I ignore that, then you're going to have the consequences of breaking those rules. It's going to change things. There's objective good and evil. It's baked into the functionality of things. It's not something we create, and doesn't have anything to do with Christianity either. There's objective good and there's objective evil. Doesn't matter whether you're religious or not. No rules in nature. Oh yeah, there are rules in nature. There's consequences. Animals have similar consequences. Right? There's just nothing really upholding some kind of rules. Except for in a group. So, no. There is rules in nature. Absolutely, there is rules in nature, George Sanford. There weren't rules in nature, everything would just kill each other. But they don't. Anyway. If man creates rules, it's only out of the recognition that there needs to be order. Because nature and the spirit, consciousness, have the rules of how things function to deal with. The rules are in the very existence of structure itself. That there is structure, that there is patterns, that things are cyclical, that there's such a thing as crystallization. That is the rules. Structure is the rules. Do you understand? The very fact structure on any and all levels exist is the rules. Not man-made. It's there. It is that things are there. That there is structure. That is rules. Not something we made up. We didn't make up the order of things. They are there. It's just up to us to identify them and to resonate with them or not, or go against it. Animal instincts aren't rules. Yes, they are. Biological rules. Systematic. Following a pattern. Recognizable. Identifiable. Responsive. Absolutely rules. Mechanical designed rules. Right? Natural law is rules. It's the rules of existence. Everything has rules, has structure, has a pattern, has consistency. It's all because of rules, the structure for the design of how things work. It's all rules, all of it. It's how God designed things to be ordered. The rules are in it by how things work. Right? Natural law is ever changing? What? No. Not when you're talking about physics. Right? If you mean animal law or something, or the law of nature or law of the wild, right? Like, yeah, don't call it natural law unless you're addressing physics, because it's going to be really confusing if you do that. That's what I thought. Right. But that's animal law. It's right. It's the spiritual law. What you're talking about is not natural law. It's spiritual law. It's the power or the responsibility that comes with power of consciousness and conscious thought and decision, which is where we excel compared to the animal kingdom. Because they respond. They don't really have conscious thought as much. I mean, there's some planning involved. There's figuring things out. But even that is, to a degree, just fully automated. There's no conscious thinking process. Really. There's a creative process, but it's not really conscious with animals. Not to the same degree as we. It might be almost there. And with some animals, arguably, that are really smart, it is there. You could argue that dolphins are actually conscious. Like that. The same like humans. And ravens are arguably conscious. But most animals aren't. They're just responsive. And that, well, because of choice, because of choice, right? What really makes conscious, like humans have, is the power of choice. Of conscious choice, of choosing something that to the short term seems very tough. Conscious is a scale or a spectrum? No. It's just a thing, another level. It's, you have base conscious, and then you have like the real conscious, where conscious decisions can be made, like separated from your impulses. And that's where the actual human conscious comes in. Right, like the box of paint from the Bene Gesserit in June. Like, what this makes you different from an animal? Well, can you deny your impulses with your conscious? Self-control intelligence. Yeah, but self-control intelligence doesn't really work without consciousness. So it's a distinct trait that comes with full consciousness. Self-control is like one of the signs of consciousness. Being able to respond differently based on awareness of information. Right. Being aware of the act. You have to have a model of what's happening separated in your virtual mind, basically. Do you remember when you mentioned inaction is an action? Yes. Right, to consciously decide not to do something is a decision. It is an action. It's not like you skip what happened just by not doing anything. Yes, GM Lay Lore. I have played those. It's coming out in a few days. Wow. I was gonna ask, like, when is that thing gonna come out? It's been in development for like a decade or something. Seriously. Thought it was like I saw like advertisement for it. No, not advertisement, but like preview thingies, or like, oh, we're gonna make something, like years ago. So they took their sweet ass time on that one. I just wonder if it's gonna suck like the previous one, where you literally can't play it unless you're like freaking online. I hated that so much from Diablo 3. You can't fucking play it unless you have a fucking internet connection. Who the hell thought that up? What a piece of shit. And yeah, the graphics and the music, it was all pretty cool and all that, but also it wasn't cool. It missed like a lot of fun and adventure type feeling from the second Diablo. It was all much more prefabricated, and like you play through it twice and then you realize you know everything by heart. Like there's nothing new. Diablo 2 would actually like completely re-engineer what it would present to you, and it would feel like very different. Diablo 3 just doesn't do that at all. Like at all. I didn't find it really satisfying. Although there was some pretty cool music in there. But dark, as you would expect. Classical and dark. So yeah, I have played them. I think I still have Diablo 3. Yeah. But what wild game, yeah. 4 will be more like... Yeah, well, Aries 106, I expect it to be even more like 3. But hey, maybe they'll surprise us. Right, but I mean, Diablo 3 should have spent less time on stupid voice acting and more on the scenery being more dynamic and more randomness factors within it, within the levels. Never pre-order. Yeah, I'm not pre-ordering. Screw that. Dude, it took long enough even with Diablo 3 before it started to actually normally function. So it's like, oh, pre-release. Oh, yeah. Well, it barely functions. Oh, here's it official now. It still doesn't function. A year later, it might function. So you already paid all that money. For like a year, it barely functions. You're probably losing interest by the time it actually starts to work. It's fucking idiotic. Right, man, time has been flying. I'll run out soon, but first I'm gonna take a 2-minute break. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Crow Jung. What is that again? Swiss psychiatrist? Jesus. Analytical psychology. Right, yeah, interesting individual. And he was called Gustav. Interesting. Right. Now Carl Jung is an interesting I don't know everything about him, by the way, just for the record. But that name definitely rings a bell. Right. Yeah, I've been even thinking about that antediluvian catharsis. Like, why monotheism, right? Why? What's really logical about it is that if you wouldn't have monotheism, if you had a polytheistic system, then groups could literally like become arch enemies of each other based on like, yeah, but we have our god that like competes with your god. And monotheism, by agreeing that there's really only one god, that resolves that issue, because then you can appeal to a god that's competing with another god and then allow that to seed your fanaticism. Thought that's kind of interesting. Right, so monotheism is all about preventing division and fanaticism. Right? It's kind of weird way of looking at it. Maybe it's like deist or something. I'm not sure, but if you just realize, like, yeah, every religion, or most of them, might actually be monotheistic underneath it all, because they recognize there's one original creator. But if you do that, then it's like, yeah, you can't say, oh, your religion is all wrong, because at least they recognize an original creator. Then it's just like, oh, my set of icons is like, oh, against your set of icons, but they're all under the same god. It's interesting in that sense that like the path of Christ really works with monotheism for that reason. All religions still the same base. Yeah. Roughly so, George Sanford. polytheism. I'm not too sure, but we'd have to like do some more digging into actual polytheism to be certain of that antediluvian. But yeah, there's no time for that because I'm going to round out the show. Although I'd appreciate to continue this conversation at some point. And be nice to others and eat your greens, indeed. Right, so thanks everyone for coming. I hope you liked this show. If you did, then please don't forget to Rogans it up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so you know when I'm going live, which is normally 1 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekdays and 2 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekend. And please also do support me through the PayPal and the Patreon. That would be much appreciated, and I can really still use the support, so that would be great. I got a little PayPal from somebody. I'm not sure who that was. Again. I don't know who it was, but thank you. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the name, but thank you very much. But yeah, guys, I mean, support has been really freaking low for quite a while. I'm gonna be in a lot of financial trouble if that doesn't change here. So I'd really appreciate if all of you would think of somehow get some support my way. That would be great. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with Flat Earth Early Bird number 1618 on a Thursday, and I'm going to join the Flat Earth debates over at Nathan Oakley 9080 channel, which should start up any second now. Hope to see you all there in the chat, and until the next video, keep it flat.